In this video, I will answer the 5 most common questions I get about that I get about miniature wargaming. If you are a miniature wargamer too, that's great. See if you can relate to my questions and see if you would give the same answers. If you are not, that's even better, because you might have the same questions. And hopefully I can answer them to your satisfaction. We are doing a top 5 here, because that's what you do on YouTube. Top 5. Top 5 most common reasons. 5 best coffees. But I have my own bonus question at the end, so stick around. Now, last weekend my game association hosted our first convention, LNK Brawl 2024. I wasn't part of the planning or anything and simply visited the event as pretty much like any outsider would. The convention stretched 2 days, in which I took part in the 9th Age tournament the entire time. But in between games I could ramble about and take in the sights and mingle with the visitors and whatnot, at least a little. The 9th Age tournament was one of the bigger events at the convention, with 22 players across 11 tables, taking up the biggest space in the middle of everything. If you have never been to an event like that, imagine one fully set up table with 2 armies, terrain, dice, coffee vapor, and of course 2 sweaty middle-aged dudes. Now try to imagine that times 11. Yeah, a miniature wargaming tournament is quite the spectacle to behold. And since beholding spectacles is something people tend to like, they did. Most people are, at least in Sweden, most people are shy and stay away and keep their distance, simply watching in bewilderment from afar. But a few brave ones always comes up to have a chat.
I've seen your kind before. You've got blood on your hands.
And that, of course, brings me to the first question. And also, without a doubt, the most common one. What is miniature wargaming? If you are a miniature wargamer, I am sure you have been asked this question. At least once. As you know, the answer is very different depending on who is asking, since you tend to tailor the answer somewhat. As far as I am aware, there is no scientific definition of it, so it's up to each one to decide for themselves. Anarchy. For me, it means a tabletop game of some kind, featuring factions or sides, if you want, waging some kind of violent conflict on each other, with focus on the game pieces being pretty miniatures. For instance, while the game Risk is a tabletop game where you wage war on each other, and there are game pieces resembling guns and soldiers, I'd not call that a miniature war game, since the focus is not on the miniatures and they are simply play pieces that look crap. But let's say it's my grandma that is asking. I would simply put it as sorta like chess, but a little more complicated. I don't think my grandma is watching my channel, however, so let's see if I can explain it to regular people. According to statistics, most people are in fact regular people. Shocking, I know.
You're not special.
Going with statistics again, you are probably a somewhat regular man in your 20s or 30s, since that's my main audience. Chances are that you have heard of Warhammer.
What?
Statistically, if you have heard about it, it's far more likely that you have come in contact with one of the Warhammer themed video games than the actual tabletop game, which I think is kind of sad, but okay. There are a lot of games like these by different companies. Some sell miniatures along with their rule system, some don't, and some companies only make miniatures that people can use for whatever they like. Some games are based on book series, movies, history, other games, or like Warhammer takes place in its own fictional universe. No matter what game you prefer, it's basically the same after that. You collect miniatures and build an army, a group of soldiers, warriors, or a battle force.
9 companions. So be it. You shall be the Fellowship of the Ring.
Right. Where are we going?
You set up a battlefield, and then you use that army or group of troops to battle your mates and their armies. In most games there are different factions, each with their own special rules, with maybe different play styles. And you choose the one that suits you. There are a lot of ways to play and the games differ a bit. In most cases it's turn-based and you measure distances on the board, for example how long a miniature can walk, shoot or cast spells, etc. And then dice are used to determine how successful they are at whatever they are trying to achieve. Some games are really enjoyable with a couple of mates on a Friday night, and other games are more suitable for competitive play. The game we played at this event, 9th Age Fantasy Battle, is on the more competitive side with focus on balance and rules. For instance, the game is developed by the community and you are free to use whatever miniatures you want, as long as it's clear what they are representing on the battlefield. With games like Warhammer 40k, for example, it's the same company that makes the rules as make the miniatures for it. That's great for Friday evenings with your mates, but often not if you want to play competitively. If you don't understand why that is, just think about that for a while. Do you think the newest, shiniest and expensive new miniatures are going to be A, not very good in game and you don't need to buy it, or B, very good in game, enticing everyone to buy it? And speaking about money, that's a great segue to the next question. But first I wanted to summarize my ramblings a bit, because I tend to go on. I will try to give shorter answers to the rest of the questions. Miniature wargaming is a game where you collect a miniature army or battle force of some kind and then use that force to battle other people's armies. Isn't it very expensive? No. Next question. Okay, yeah, it can cost a lot. But what hobby doesn't? I mean, fishing is basically free. All you need is something to catch fish with. A childhood friend of mine actually caught a big pike once by bashing it in the head with a stick and then picking it up with his hands. Barbecuing is another great example. All you really need is a fire. But people manage to make those activities cost a lot of money. So hobbies costs money, that's what they do. I enjoy gaming as well as painting miniatures, so I get a lot of fun for money, so I don't think it's very expensive. Okay, so third question. Isn't it very hard to learn all the rules? No, not really. As discussed, there are a lot of different games from different developers, and some are obviously going to be more rule heavy than others. But you have to remember the reasons we do it. Money. No. Fame. No. To get girls. No. I know. Fun.
That's the one.
It's supposed to be fun. Do you have to learn a lot of rules to compete and win tournaments? Yeah, probably. Do you have to know all the rules to have fun? No. How long did it take to paint all those? A while. Isn't it hard to paint them? Always followed by, I would never have the patience. How do you say what you paint? They are so tiny. Or something like that. Yes, it's hard, but so is tennis. Scuba diving. And I don't know, probably the latest boss in World of Warcraft. But people are amazing and can do anything they want. With practice. And good lighting helps with the rest. Before we go along with the promised bonus question, I just want to remind you to hit the like button, or the dislike one if that's more your style. Subscribe for more videos about miniature wargaming, and feel free to ask me your questions in the comments. If I get enough good or interesting questions, I'll make a video where I answer them, or at least try to answer them. I don't know everything. Almost everything, not everything. Bonus question. This is a question I don't actually think I've got per se, but the conversations tend to go that way when I talk to people who maybe would like to try miniature wargaming but feel intimidated by everything. If I was to start collecting and playing miniature wargames, do I have to paint my miniatures? No. No, you don't. Some tournaments, like for instance this one, have painting demand, but not everyone. Some people get cranky when they have spent hours upon hours painting their army and their opponent hasn't. Nothing hurts more than when your newly painted dragon-riding general gets slain on the battlefield by a tiny unpainted goblin, but that's part of the game. Sometimes. If you want to battle me and have a battle report made of the game here on my channel, your army has to be painted, because I want to exhibit the very best of the hobby. But for a normal friendly game, I wouldn't mind. It would just be fun to play someone new. You might not want to paint, or think that you don't have the necessary skill, or the time to paint an army, but you can always buy a painted one, or have someone else paint it for you. And as for the skill factor, the miniature will, depending of course by manufacturer, often be grey before it's painted, and if you don't think you can improve upon that, you are wrong. You don't have to get an entire army either. Start small. At this tournament we played 4,500 points of 9th Age Fantasy Battle. That means you have 4,500 points to build your army with. And that's about the same as 2,000 or 2,500 Warhammer Age of Sigmar or 8th edition. Most games like this are somewhat scalable or have a play mode for lower point limits. That means fewer troops and less things to remember and learn. Let me know in the comments if my top 5 questions was the same as yours. And if you are still wondering something, let me know in the comments. If not, thank you for watching and I see you soon.